If you are indeed an independent contractor, that means you work for yourself and you're liable for both shares of self-employment tax. What does that total to again? What's the total percentage if you're self-employed that you pay? $15.3, right? 7.65 plus 7.65. Which of the two parts of SECA are capped? OASDI or HI? OASDI. If I'm paying both shares of OASDI, what's my percentage? 12.4, right? 6.2 plus 6.2. You need to know these off the top of your head. If I'm paying both shares of HI, what am I paying? 2.9. Okay. So I would, maybe whatever, you need to do flashcard that or whatever, but you need to kind of know those percentages pretty quickly. Okay, so we talked about how an employer is, what an employer is liable for if he or she misclassifies somebody, right? If I misclassify an employer, I'm an employee, I'm going to have to go back and pay his or her share of FICA and FIT. So the IRS is very, very stringent about misclassifying. What does the IRS want people classified as, independent or employees? Why? They get the same amount of money either way. Why do they care? If something goes through the W-2 process, everything's double checked. It's got to tie up to your payroll software. It's got to tie up to your tax return. If I'm an independent contractor, there's a lot of room to jack around the taxable net income. Okay. Really? Okay, so that basically covered, those first 12 slides covered the who has to pay FICA versus SECA. This next section is what exactly are taxable wages? And of course we know that cash and bonuses and severance pay and all that is susceptible. But also all these a lot of fringe benefits are also taxable for FICA. And there's, I think the list, there's a list of fringe benefits in your book that talks about all the different things that are and aren't taxable for FICA. If your employer puts money into your 401k, it's not taxable. If your employer pays your health insurance benefits, it's not taxable. But if they give you like a corporate car and you get to drive that around personally, that's taxable. They let you use the company plane, that's taxable. If you get a membership to a country club, that's taxable. So the things that they really want to promote aren't taxable, but pretty much everything else as far as fringe benefits are, other than 401k match and health insurance. Tips are also taxable. Now, I do want to go through and do an example of this because this can be, it's not tricky, it's just, I just want to show you how it works. So if you have, so take these facts down. Let's say that I'm paid monthly. So just write these facts down and then I'll do the work for you. I'm paid monthly and I'm quoted a salary of $1,480. So that's the salary I'm quoted. But I get paid weekly. And in 1 week, I declare tips of $396. What I'd like you to do is calculate the gross pay and then take the FICA out of it. So let's just talk about how you're going to approach this, and then I'll give you a second to do it. So she's quoted a monthly salary. She's paid weekly. She also declared some tips. And we know that we have to take FICA for the tips and the wages from where? Out of the paycheck, right? Okay. So you're going to need to annualize and then break it back down here. I think that's his weekly wage, right? I annualized his quoted salary, and then I broke it down to a week. I also need to add what on there before I calculate the FICA? I have to have those tips on there before I calculate FICA. But the key here is once I figure that FICA, how much is his actual gross paycheck? Is it the 341 or the 737? No, because that 396 are his tips. His gross paycheck, in other words, what I'm cutting him a check for, is 341.54. Out of the 351, yeah. So the way this works is this was actually the gross paycheck, and this was the tips. And this number here, I simply calculated to find what the FICA wages were. In other words, what do I multiply the 7.65 by? But the check itself is $341.54. No, the $20 is just you're not considered a tipped employee unless you regularly get $20 from start to go. So a very common student error is to get that $737 and pay that to them. You're not going to pay that to them. They have $396 of that is money they got in their pocket from their tips. You just have to calculate that number to get the taxes. But the gross paycheck that the employer's writing is only $341.54 minus taxes, right? Are you with me? You're not going to put the tips in the paycheck. They already got the tips. You just have to add those on to get FICA wages or fit wages or SIP wages. The numbers that you go and make the calculations based on, but you don't pay it. It all comes out of this number right here. Because that's the paycheck, isn't it? Does that make sense? Tiffany, you're looking a little, are you with me? Okay. If you have questions on anything, you have to ask, and I'll just do another example. Okay, basically this is just what we just did. Employer calculates FICA on the tips and withholds from the regular paycheck. They must withhold on the first paycheck after the tips are reported. And then the employer's got to match that, doesn't he? Right, so whatever I took out of your paycheck for a total of the FICA on your tips and wages, I have to match that.
You meant that word.
No, not at all. So do you understand that it's got to be that matching process?
That's what I'm confused about. So whatever I took out of wages,
I've got to match that as an employer. That comes out of my pocket. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, keep clarifying if you've got questions. Then there's a whole laundry list. I'm not going to spend a whole ton of time on this, but there's a laundry list of things that are specifically exempt. In other words, I don't have to pay FICA on. And these are things like if I provide meals and lodging for my benefit as the employer. I think I gave you the example before, like if I'm have an almond farm, or I think they call them almonds actually in Northern California. I have an almond farm and it's pretty remote, so people can live on my almond farm. Then the meals and lodging are for my benefit. I don't have to pay FICA on it. They don't have to pay FICA on it. Same thing with sick pay, but only, this is called short-term disability, but only after you've had 6 months off. Or this last one, the difference between an employee's pay and military pay. So these are really super specific situations. I think I talked about this one. You don't have to pay if your employer puts money into your pension plan. You don't have to pay FICA if your employer provides you tuition assistance, right? So there's just a very discrete laundry list of these kinds of things that you should be familiar with, but they're the exception, not the rule. Okay, let's talk about this. Let's see if you remember what we just reviewed. Okay, so we're using, I believe we agreed that we were using 2017 rates, correct? Because that's what's in our book. So what was the cap that we were using for OASCI? 127.2. Okay, this is super hard for me to keep track of. Because right now I'm doing all these for the next edition of the book. And of course we know what the real number is in 2018 now, and it's not 127.2, it's 128.4. But we're using 127.2 because that's what's in our book. Is everyone clear on that? So that's a little confusing. At any rate, let's just go through the numbers one more time. So if I'm paying into OASCI, what's my rate again? How much do I pay? What percentage? 6.2. If I'm paying both shares, then I'm paying 12.4. If I'm paying into HI, I'm paying what? She's like, I got to just peek sideways here. 12.45. And if I pay both shares, I pay 2.9. But if I make more than 200 grand a year, I pay in an extra 0.9. 0.9. Okay. So, and then I stop paying which tax at 127.2? OASDI. Okay, good. So this just, and I think this should have all been what you memorized to take that quiz last week, right? Where you spit out the tax tables. And I think I had you do that because this isn't going to go away. You really need to know these kind of off the top of your head. Okay, and then this says as we go to press that maybe that 0.9% Medicare was going to go away because it's used in part to fund Obamacare, and that has not yet gone away, and neither has Obamacare, although which facet of the ACA has been rescinded? The mandatory, the law that says you have to mandatorily have to have health insurance or you're penalized, right? Financially penalized through your tax return. So that was kind of the teeth of it. But the law itself, the exchanges, the pre-existing conditions, all those facets of it have not gone away. Okay. So this is just an interesting side note. You hear, I'm sure, a lot of scuttlebutt about how Social Security is going broke. And essentially when it was designed, I think it was passed in, what did we say, 36, right, part of the New Deal. So really the first generation, actually I was just having this conversation this weekend, it's a generation 10 years, is it 12 years, is it 15 years? And that essentially, if you argue 15 years, one generation later, after it was passed, there were 16 workers paying into Social Security for every one person taking it. And by 2042, that ratio is projected to be 2. So like, you can just see the numbers, right? Obviously, it can't remain solvent unless the rate is significantly increased, i.e. the taxes go up, either the percentage or the cap or both, or benefits go down. Or what we're seeing right now is the age of getting Social Security is continuing to creep upwards. I mean, I know for years and years and years it was 62, and it was 65, now it's 67. So they keep kind of changing the rule book. It seems as they get older, they keep moving it back.
Probably gonna have to do both.
Well, they're going to have to do all three. They're going to cut benefits, move the initial age back, and raise the taxes. I mean, these numbers say it all. We're not even replicating ourselves population-wise in the United States.
But the government's probably $3 trillion.
Against it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hasn't paid that, so that would probably be similar.
Well, it depends on what happens with the house chargeable debt, doesn't it?
Yeah, true. But
And
borrow-
who's got most of our debt? China. The Chinese and Saudi Arabians. So, I mean, it all remains to be seen. But yes, certainly on paper, if you can keep rolling debt over, of course you're throwing it into the future, but as you roll debt over, the interest accrues on it. Right? Okay, let's just have a little conversation here and then we'll do some numbers. So this person, Tamara, earns $138,000 a year. She's paid semi-monthly, so how many times a year? 24, right? Which, how many times is bi-weekly? Great, so semi-monthly is 24. And I am running the December 15th payroll. And I want to know how much FICA to take. FICA is comprised of 2 taxes. What are they? OASDI and HI. So, why do I not just figure out one paycheck and multiply by 7.65 and call it good?
It's gonna be slightly different.
What's the issue with her though? You can just look at her wage and tell me.
Above more than 27.
Yeah, exactly, Eric. She's capped. I don't know when she's capped, but I've got to figure that out. Okay, here's the math. Let me walk you through the theory and then you can do the math and then I'll put it up on the cover, whatever it's called. Okay, so the first thing is you gotta figure out how much her wages are every time she gets paid, right? Then, following through here, you have to figure out her prior year-to-date gross paycheck. In other words, how much had she earned before she was paid today? And that will help us determine whether or not she's capped or she is capped. So you should have two algebraic equations written down. Number one, what's her regular semi-monthly gross? Number two, what did she earn prior to today? So what you're doing here, you figure out her regular gross paycheck is 5,750, right? But then the next thing is you need to figure out how many paychecks that she had before today. And that's how you get her prior year-to-date gross. Yeah. So is she capped them? Is she capped before today?
I just did 127.2 divided by 57.50. She capped at 22.12 weeks. So
Paychecks.
yeah.
Okay, that's a fine way to do it, but that's probably not the most direct route.
Yeah.
I would fill in the blank on these two fields that I have up here, and I think that'll lead us maybe a little more seamlessly to it. So she's had 22 checks before today, right? This 126.5 is called her prior year to date. So then the question is, can you just run one calculation to get her FICA? Can you? No. You've got to calculate them out separately. So her HI is the whole 5750 is fully taxable because there is no cap on HI. And she's not over 200 grand, so I don't have to worry about that money. But with the OASDI part, only a little bit of her checks can be susceptible to that, right? The difference between 126.5 and 127.2. So you're going to have two algebraic equations and then hook them together. Oh, not actually. So only 700 bucks is susceptible to OASDI, right? So her total tax is 4340 plus 8338 And of course, that's what the employer matches. So when you eyeball somebody that's got an annual salary over 127.2, you have to do this. And if I told you I was writing a check in February, you wouldn't have to do it because you can see she's not happy. You would just multiply it by 7.65%. But if you feel like it's in the ballpark or like I got to worry about this, you have to go through this process. Okay, everyone clear? Let's try one more. Sun Beach earns $225,000 a year. He's paid monthly. Determine the FICA for his November 30th payroll. So how many payrolls do you think happened before today? The hint is in what part of the month he gets paid. Yeah. So is he capping or what's going on here? Yeah. So is there an issue with him or do you have a pretty easy calculation? What's the issue? He doesn't have any, he does have some FICA, he doesn't have any OASCI.
Oh,
Right?
that's what I
So that's, yeah, I know, it's kind of, you kind of got to think about it, because FICA is really two taxes. And he doesn't have any OASCI, but he does have HI, doesn't he? So when you see that, you can just easily take 18,750 times what? Not 6.2, he's done with that one. 1.45%, 0.0145 if you're putting it in your calculator. Plus 187.5, oh, this gets kind of, this one's tricky. Okay, did you catch that this is going to throw over the 200 grand? This check is? I didn't either until I put the extras up. So he's at 187.5. And if you add another paycheck on, he's going to be over 200,000. So a part of that check, not all of it, but a piece of it, is going to be susceptible to the 0.9, isn't it? How are you going to figure that out? Yeah, everything over 200 grand. So what is that, like 6750 or something? 250. So if I were learning this for the first time, I think that I would have like a flow chart in my mind somewhere along the lines of when I'm doing this, I mean, if I tell you somebody's got a $50,000 a year salary, you've got no issues. Right? It's just a full 7.65 for everything. Right? If somebody goes over one, if you can look at their annual salary and see they go over 127.2, you've got to do that prior year-to-date calculation. If you look at a snapshot of their salary and see they're over 200,000, Then you've got two things to think about. You've got the 127.2 cap and you've got the plus 0.9%. I've never really thought about it like that, but that really is your flow chart. No cap. Do they cap but they're under, they're under 127.2? Or do they cap and they're over 127.2? And those are kind of the three questions, I think. Okay. Oh, okay, and then does the employer match the 0.9? No. So the employer just goes back and pick up this number. And you don't have to add the 0.9. Yeah. Okay, so now we're going back to SECA and we know this, so now we got to double everything, right? 6.2 plus 6.2, 1.45 plus 1.45. And I think I made this point last week. If I'm self-employed and I have to pay tax on my gross revenue or on my net income? My net income, right? So, and it says here, if I run my profit and loss, my P&L, and my net earnings are less than $400, I don't need to bother. But if they're more than $400, I do need to pay self-employment tax. If I have more than one business and I have a profit in one of them and a loss in the other, I can offset them before I calculate. And I've got a couple of clients who that's their situation. They'll have a profitable business and then they'll try like another venture and it loses money. They can offset that. Can you continue in perpetuity to file a tax return with losses on it? No, the IRS is going to reclassify that as a hobby because nobody engages in something year after year after year after year as a business that they're losing money at. So you got to be really careful with that. And you know the 15.3. All right, let's talk about this. So this affects a ton of people in Missoula, including myself. You have a W-2 and you have self-employment income, because that's what you need to do to make a living there. So if people come to you and say, here's my W-2, or even a couple W-2s. Tons of our adjunct professors here that aren't tenured actually have second jobs. They're servers, they're, they work in restaurants and bars around Missoula, so they've got a couple W-2s, and then maybe they do something on the side too. So they bring all that and say, here, do my taxes. Everything counts towards that cap of 127.2. So once you go over that combined, then you've got that capping issue we talked about earlier. Your employer is going to take the full amount out of each of your W-2s. So what you're liable for is calculating how much self-employment tax you owe. Okay, now let's just look at some examples. In this example, Celia has a W-2 with $138,768 on it. But then she also has consulting business on the side that she made $14,500 on. How much SECA does she pay? Does she have to pay the OASCI portion of SECA? No, because she's capped on her W-2. Does she have to pay the HI portion? Sure. But don't forget to do what? You gotta double it because she's both. And she didn't go over 200 grand, so you don't have to worry about the 0.9. All right, let's try another example. In this case, I've got so many little icons down here. In this case, you can start writing this down. Let's say that I've got a W-2 with 93,400 on it. 93,400. And then I have a business I'm just going to call this SE, which means self-employment. I've got SE income, self-employment income. I've got a little business that I do jewelry making. And I had net income of 28,000 for my jewelry. So I'm a goldsmith. I work for Pandora Studios downtown. I've got a W-2, and then I also do some jewelry making on the side. Okay, what can you see first off is going to be the issue between the two? Oh, no, sorry, my numbers aren't good. I'm not going to cap, I want to cap. Let's say my self-employment income's 38,000, pardon me. So in total, what's that come to? Right? Now, what has my employer at Pandora Studios taken out of this 93,400? Which taxes? Yeah, HI and OASDI. So I've already paid OASDI up to this amount, right? And we know that you eat with everything put together, you only pay OASDI up to 127.2. So how much of the 38,000 of self-employment income is going to be susceptible to OASDI? Figure out how much of the 38,000 is susceptible to OASDI.
Does it depend on when you got the money?
It doesn't.
Okay.
I could have earned it all in January, I could have earned it all in December, or more likely it would have been.
Without the difference between the ones.
That's the amount over 127.2. You want the amount up to 127.2. See what I'm saying, Kat? That sounds about right. So I'm going to take 127.2. I'm going to subtract the 93.4 I've already paid it on. Yeah, oops, I don't know where that number came from. 127.2 minus. How much am I going to pay on that 33.8 for OASDI? What percentage? You are kidding him. You're just a little backwards. No. Not 15.3, not 2.9. You're only left with one choice. I think it's the 12.4, isn't it? 6.2 plus 6.2. That's my OASDI. How much do I pay HI on? Yeah, that's 2.9. What's my wage base? The whole thing, right? Because there's no cap there. Did you guys come to the 5293? Okay, so the takeaway here is really essentially this same tool that I had for the last conversation. if you can see between the W-2 and the SE income that you're not going to cap, you just take a straight what percentage. If I'm not capping between my SE income and my W-2, what percentage of my SE income do I need to pay? 15.3%. If I'm capping between my SE income and my W-2, you've got to run the calculation. Part of it's probably going to be susceptible, and part of it not. You always pay 2.9% of the whole amount because the HI doesn't cap. The only question there is you have to tack on the 0.9. You guys are like, really? It's Monday morning. Okay, let's try one more. And then, gosh, it's already a day. Actually, you know what I'm going to have you do? I'm going to have you do, make sure to put in your notes to do slide 27 on your own. And then for Wednesday, can you do a couple things to make sure to do your homework for chapter 3, except for you don't need to do, sorry? No, you do need to do, you do need to do the problem set questions, but not the last two, because those are 941s and we haven't done that yet. So all of your homework for chapter 3, except for the last two payroll problems, or whatever those are called. Due on Wednesday. Then also, let me show you what I need you to bring to class on Wednesday. So if you go to irs.gov, this is where you get really like any tax forms you need or any instructions or advice. Well, not really advice, but I mean instructions, forms. So go up to forms and instructions up here in the right-hand corner. And what we want to do in the search is just put in 941 because I need you to print. And I'm going to show you exactly what I want you to print. So you're going to go to 941. You're going to click on it. And I think it's a 4-page form maybe. But y'all only need to print out the first 2 pages. Oh, here's the little bars going really slow. Oh, here we go. Okay, yep, so it's 4 pages. You only need to print the first 2 pages, but I need 2 copies of it. And we're gonna work on those together on Wednesday. Please make sure that you complete your readings for chapter 3. We've really got 2 days left. We're going to go through your homework on Wednesday. I think I've got about another 6 slides to finish. We're going to practice 941 together, and then we're going to reinforce all of our chapter 3 work on Friday. As far as the review for the exam, I'll open up a review, but we're not going to do it together. It's for you to self-study. If I was starting to get ready for the exam, I would be looking at the payroll slides for the multiple choice. And I've said this a dozen times, but it bears repeating. I would make sure that I can go and do all the math on every single one of the screens where we've done math, because those are what the essay problems are going to be, or the short essay problems. Okay? All right. Have a great week. We'll see you on Wednesday. And all of these are posted to these lectures.